Assalamu alaikum. Today I will be discussing the development of the most important structures or whole of the female reproductive tract. So I will not be discussing the whole embryology's ABC here because our major concern is to read it just from the perspective of gynecology. But inshallah, it will cover your exam questions, and I know that it is your major purpose to watch this video. You just want to pass in your exam. So inshallah this purpose will be achieved by this video. We will be discussing the development of the ovaries, the uterus and vagina, and the external genitalia. External genitalia includes all those structures of the female reproductive system that are visible from the outside, right? Like mons pubis. I will be showing it to you people in the remaining discussion. Mons pubis, there is labia majora, minora, vestibule of the vagina, vulva, etc. So let's just start with the ovary. I'm showing you pictures of your concern here, but uh, in order to watch these pictures you don't need to memorize the or you don't need to understand the concept of all of these structures that are given in this picture. Just I will highlight the points that are of your concern here. Like we are discussing the development of the ovaries here. So just see here that this is the foregut highlighted here. Okay, this is the foregut highlighted here, and this is the hindgut highlighted here. And the other structure of your concern and the major structure of your concern is this yolk sac. And moreover, you can also watch from here that these are the primordial germ cells. Just remember, these are the primordial germ cells, and you can see it in the wall of this yolk sac, right? This is a 3-week old embryo and it is showing the primordial germ cells in the wall of the yolk sac, right? So just remember these primordial germ cells. Let me just give you the brief previous history of the yolk sac, that where it is coming from. Mainly, you know that in the second week of development, what happens? This is actually the picture of Langman. You can see that in the second week of development, a bilaminar germinal disc forms, which includes epiblast and it also includes the hypoblast. And a cavity is formed in the hypoblast, which is known as the exocoelomic cyst or primitive yolk sac. Remember, this is also known as the exocoelomic cavity. But at the end of the second week of development, like at approximately 13 weeks, what happens that a secondary yolk sac also forms, and the primitive yolk sac or the exocoelomic cavity I have shown you in the previous slide has now been developed into the exocoelomic cyst. That was a cavity. Now it has been degenerated into just a cyst. That was a primitive yolk sac. Now a secondary yolk sac has been formed. So we are not concerned with yolk sac. Just remember that yolk sac is what for your concept. This is the picture of concern majorly. Here you can see that this is the hindgut shown here. I have shown you the hindgut here, right? I have shown you the hindgut in this picture. Just focus the hindgut again here. Okay, and this cloaca we will also discuss it in the remaining section. But for the development of the ovaries, just consider that this is the genital ridge. Okay, in red color, this is the genital ridge, and this is mainly in blue color, this is the mesonephros, right? This is the mesonephros. Mainly here are three primitive kidneys that develop in an embryo: mesonephros, pronephros, and metanephros. But we all are having the mature kidneys in our body are developed from the metanephros, right? They are not developed from the pronephros, they are not developed from the mesonephros, they are mainly developed from the metanephros. But this is, remember, this is mesonephros. On the medial side of mesonephros, what develops? This genital ridge forms, and this genital ridge forms mainly at approximately 4 to 5 weeks of the embryonic life, right? And this is mainly responsible for the formation of the primitive gonad. This genital ridge is mainly responsible for. But remember that at this stage, like if the primitive gonads are formed between the fifth, genital ridge appears in the 4th to 5th week of the gestation. Okay, or we can say that 4th to 5th week of the embryonic life. But primitive gonad develops from this genital ridge in the 5th to 7th week of development, right? But this primitive gonad has the potential to develop either into the testes, which are male gonads, and or into the ovaries, which are actually the female gonads. Now Remember that gonads are present normally, like we all are having the gonads, either you're a male or female, you all are having the gonads, either testes or ovaries. So all of our gonads are present mainly along with the other structures in the pelvis. But remember that they are not developed in the pelvis. Though we know about the testes, we all know about the testes do not develop into the do not develop into the pelvis, rather they develop into the abdomen. And similarly, females ovaries do not develop in the pelvis along with the uterus, rather they develop in the posterior abdominal wall. So this picture is mainly the cross sectional view of the posterior abdominal wall, and it is showing the genital ridge here, which is of your concern mainly here. Okay, so which things or factors tell us that developing genital ridge will form ovaries or testes? Mainly remember, this is a very important concept, that sex determination mainly occurs in the time of fertilization or at the time of the conception. So if a zygote is having XX chromosome, then it will obviously form the female or ovaries, right? And if the particular zygote is having XY, then it will form the testes or it will form the male, right? Features like the male reproductive system. This X chromosome is mainly having a gene which is called the SRY gene. Remember, this is the SRY gene, and it is sex determining gene of the Y chromosome, and it is mainly responsible for developing the testes. But as you know that in females there is no Y, there is no SRY. So in the absence of Y and SRY, the genital ridge will develop into the ovaries, and in the presence of it, it will develop into the testes, right? So now just remember that this genital ridge, I'm highlighting this genital ridge here. This genital ridge has mainly two portions. One is its outer portion like this. This is its outer portion, and it is we call it as coelomic epithelium or mesothelium. And inside it there is the cortex. Right? Remember it. Just remember this structure. So in females, what happens? This genital ridge will develop into what? In the absence of SRY gene or Y chromosome, it will develop into the ovaries. Okay, but remember that in the ovaries, now just see these primitive germ cells. These primitive germ cells that are present in the wall of the yolk sac just migrate into this genital ridge. Primitive germ cells in females are primary oocytes. Remember, these are primary oocytes. And after going into the ovaries, what happens that these primary oocytes develop into the primordial follicles, right? They develop into the primordial follicles, and they are surrounded like this is the primordial follicle, and sorry, this is the primary oocyte, and it is now surrounded by the two types of cells. One are granulosa cells, like these are the granulosa cells, and after that comes the theca cells, like these are the theca cells. So now it is called the primordial follicle. When it just came from the this yolk sac, it was primordial germ cell, or it was just this structure that was primary oocyte. But now what happened? Now it is surrounded by these granulosa cells and these theca cells, and now this is called the primordial follicle, and this primordial follicle just develops into the ovaries. And at the 20th week of gestation, there are 6 to 7 million primordial follicles. And after that, their atresia occurs, and at birth, just 1 to 2 million, just 1 to 2 million of the primordial follicles remain. And they continue to regress even after birth, so that at the time of the puberty, what happens at the time of puberty, there are only 3 to 4 lakh of the primordial follicles are remaining, and they are also shed one by one in the menstrual cycle. And when these end, or they just end up, menopause occurs in females. And as I drew a picture here which showed that this was a primary oocyte, and it was just surrounded by what? The granulosa cells, and after that it was just surrounded by what? These were theca cells. I will be showing the actual picture, or it's some sensible, somewhat picture, somewhat beautiful picture, or you can say that any other picture. In the remaining discussion, like in the menstrual cycle, just try to understand from this picture at this time. Here you can see that this was the granulosa cells and these are the theca cells, and inside it this is the primary oocyte, and this whole structure is the primordial follicle. And this oocyte within the primordial follicle is arrested at prophase, right? Prophase 1. Like you know that in meiosis 1 and meiosis 2 there are some stages like prophase, metaphase, anaphase. So it is arrested at prophase 1. Okay, prophase 1, and it just remains in this stage until it regresses or enters the meiotic process shortly before ovulation. Or we can say that until puberty it just remains in this prophase 1, and when menstruation starts, just before the start of menstruation, this prophase will continue to proceed into its next phases and its whole development will be completed, or its whole division will be completed. So that was all about the development of the ovaries. We will be discussing the remaining topics, uterus and vagina and the external genitalia, in the next video. Thank you very much.